everyone, and thanks for joining for our International Growth Centre Facebook Live interview. My name is Priya Manwaring, and I'm an economist at the International Growth Centre, and I'm here with Shanta Devarajan, who is a Senior Director for Development Economics at the World Bank and also Acting Chief Economist for the World Bank as well. We're here at the 5th Annual Urbanisation and Poverty Conference, and we'll be talking about different aspects of urban policy, areas of reform, and how research can be used to inform policy design. We'll be doing all of this over a Facebook Live interview, so we would encourage viewers to ask questions, send comments, and I've got my phone here, so I'll be able to relay those to Shanta as well. So maybe just to kick off discussion, I'll ask you, why is urbanisation such a hot topic at the moment? What do you see as the role of cities in contributing to national growth and development?
Well, there's no question that every country that has actually achieved high income has also had rapid urban growth. Going back to developed countries like the UK, you had London, or France had Paris, but also some of the East Asian countries like Thailand growing Bangkok, or Indonesia with Jakarta and so on. So you've seen that urban growth drives development. Now, why it's such a hot topic today is that the reverse also seems to be happening. You see a lot of urbanization going on without economic growth, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. So we have this famous concept called consumption cities, where people are flooding to these cities, but they're not producing anything in those cities. And so that's why this is a real challenge, because if we want these countries in Africa to grow very rapidly, we have to do something about these consumption cities so that they actually become production cities.
Great. Well then, maybe leading on from that, what do you see as some of the main challenges that are being faced by developing cities today? I mean, at the conference we're talking about various different aspects of the spatial structure of cities, so are there aspects of urban density or transport links that are just kind of not working in developing cities today?
Well, I think that their challenges are also opportunities, because cities do provide the potential for agglomeration, where you can have different types of industries located in the same place, which makes them mutually better off. So those are what we call agglomeration externalities that countries should be able to take advantage of, and they're not. So the challenge is, how do you exploit those agglomeration externalities? Then on the other side, you have congestion. These cities like Nairobi, where you're stuck in traffic for 40 minutes. I once flew from Mombasa to Nairobi, and then from Nairobi airport I went to my hotel, and the drive to my hotel was longer than my plane flight. To give you an idea of what that congestion is like. And that's just traffic, but then you've got the challenge of bringing water and electricity to the millions of people teeming into those cities, and in particular sewage and wastewater treatment is a huge challenge. That's a growing challenge in cities like Nairobi.
And just to recap for those of you who are just joining us, I'm here from the International Growth Centre speaking to Shanta Devarajan, who is the Senior Director for Development Economics at the World Bank. So then maybe just to move on to another question then, I feel like in many cities the big question is how to accommodate rapidly growing populations. What can policymakers be doing to tackle that challenge?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think rapidly growing population, or the density of population, is an asset. We should be trying to take advantage of the fact, and particularly if you have young people coming in there, they're more creative, they're more industrious. You can actually make something out of those cities. So one thing is to provide the business environment for these entrepreneurs to flourish, and that's one of the things. For instance, we put out our doing business indicators, trying to say what is the business environment for for people in cities to actually promote businesses. In fact, now we have sub-national doing business indicators, so we look at several cities within a country, because sometimes the capital city gets all the attention, but there are these other cities which also could be engines of growth. But the other challenge is, how do you manage the congestion? And there's a tendency, I would say, for policymakers to just build infrastructure, right? So you widen the road, or you put in more water pipes and so on. Now the trouble is, if you just do that without managing demand, you're just going to get even more people coming into the city. If you provide free services, and you provide more of them, you're just going to get more people. If you build it, they will come, as I say, right? And so I think what policymakers have been reluctant to do, but really need to do, is also introduce some kind of pricing, some kind of congestion charges. Because every person who comes into the city confers a cost to all the other people in terms of congestion. And so they should pay for it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like it's kind of a moving target that policymakers continuously have to reach. So we've just got another question from Sebastian Kritikos on our Facebook Live, which is, what role do you think research has to play in this specifically?
Yeah, so on one level, research can play the role of designing the policies that you need to implement. What should be the congestion charge for traffic? What should be the pricing of electricity and water? But I think research can go one step further, because all of these charges are actually quite political. I mean, you can see how much difficulty they had in, they still haven't introduced congestion charges in Los Angeles, for instance, like you have in London or in Singapore. And so we can also do research on what it will take to get some kind of efficient pricing mechanism, given the political stakes involved. And that might involve understanding what other compensation mechanisms. If people feel like, even though they're paying congestion charges, they're getting to work faster, that might actually be something they're willing to pay, but they need to be convinced of that, rather than just take it as a promise.
And then maybe on that political dimension, a large challenge that countries as a whole are facing today is increasing state fragility. And how do you feel like that relates to urban policy and urban development?
Well, at one level, fragility gets reflected in these consumption cities. I mean, people are fleeing rural areas where there's heavy conflict, and the only place they know to go to is where their cousin lives, which is in the city.
Right.
And then they come into the city. It's push rather than pull that's creating the urbanization. So we, on the one hand, need to work on the underlying causes of fragility, which is the conflict and whatever that is. And on the other hand, again, try to come up with a mechanism by which, when these people are moving to the cities, even though they're fleeing conflict and violence, there are possibilities for jobs. That if we can, again, try to improve the business environment, try to provide the physical infrastructure, that might actually create jobs or help jobs to flourish. And, you know, the other thing is that you find many of them enter into the informal sector. I would say, rather than try to formalize them, which is sometimes the tendency, you should try to improve the productivity of that informal sector.
Thank you, that's great. And just for those of you joining, my name is Priya, I'm from the International Growth Center, and I'm here with Shanta Devarajan, who is the Senior Director for Development Economics at the World Bank and Acting Chief Economist as well. So we've just got another question from Emily Yan from the IGC, which is, how can we improve coordination between different levels of government to address the challenges of urbanization?
Yeah, that is a very good question, because what you find, one of the reasons why cities are having trouble introducing congestion charges, for instance, or electricity pricing and so on, is the fact that you don't know who's in charge. I remember looking at this in Dhaka in Bangladesh, which is a teeming city, 15 million people, likely to go up to 20 million. And I just asked a simple question: who's responsible for water charges? Because Dhaka was running out of water. And it turns out there are 3 levels of government, each of whom thinks they are responsible, which means there will never be water price reform in Dhaka until you clarify. So I don't think this is hard to do, but you just have to get the commitment to say, no, these water charges are the responsibility of the municipality. End of story. The central government and the regional government has to step aside, or some other way. So just simply clarifying the rules can make a big difference. Now the other side of that is the reason why they like to pass the buck to other levels of government is that whatever government is responsible is the one that's going to get the political heat for doing these reforms. So again, we need to help them manage that as well.
Thank you, and I think that's about all the time we have, so I'm just going to wrap up by saying thank you very much to Shanta for being involved in the interview, and thanks to all of our viewers for being involved as well. And yeah, thanks very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much.